Hi, my name's Adi, and today I'm going to talk to you about some different approaches to vibrato to help you make the best creative choices. Now, if you're new to my channel and you haven't been here before, this is all about helping you to get better at guitar. So please make sure that you hit the subscribe button to see new videos, and of course if you enjoy the video then hit the like and check out some of the others in my range. Today we're talking about vibrato, which we'd be forgiven for thinking was just a simple shaking of a string. But actually vibrato has very different tonal effects depending on the way you apply it. So today we're going to look at a selection of vibratos and see how they actually change between the different techniques and approaches, so that you can use the best one for your song and the style of music that you're playing. Now we're going to start off with what we might think of as a default vibrato, which is simply where we hold a note and make small little bends to the string to create a vibrato. Now there's two ways of doing this. You can do it as a pull vibrato, which is where you play the note held normally, then pull the string downwards, then return it to pitch, pull it downwards, return to pitch. Or you can do a push vibrato, which is exactly the same, except you push a string upwards rather than pull it downwards. So hold it normally, push it up, hold it normally, push it up. And it's just a repetition of one or those options. You'd never play both of them at the same time. You'd only ever do a pull vibrato or a push vibrato in one instance. And the choice is usually one of comfort, depending on what string you're on and what note might have preceded it. Now the thing about this vibrato is if you think about it in terms of pitch, what happens is you play the note held normally, and with any vibrato you should always hit the pitch first before you start vibrato, and otherwise you'll sound a little bit lost trying to reach the correct pitch. But the pitch raises with this vibrato. So you get your standard pitch that you're expecting, and then your little bends raise the pitch. You can hear that's getting higher. Then return it back to normal pitch, and then raise the pitch again. So the pitch is always starting off where it's meant to be, going up in pitch, then coming back down and going back up in pitch again. It never falls below the pitch. So if you're choosing or aiming for particular intervals to get certain effects, you need to be aware of this, because that means you're going to be bending above your interval. And depending on how far you bend the strings, you might be going into a new interval, which is a semitone, or maybe a whole tone above it, depending on how far you want to go. Now, in terms of the distance in vibrato and how far you should go, the general rule is that if you do a small bend, small shift in pitch, and reasonably fast, it fits the lighter styles of music better. So, for example, most people would associate this type of vibrato with like a B.B. King, so small, sharp, fast vibratos. So that works well in the lighter styles of music, and the blues and all that kind of thing. You'll get those sorts of styles if you apply your vibratos that way. The slower and bigger your vibrato is, more kind of heavy metal it is in its approach. So when I say heavy metal, obviously that's subjective, but I'm talking sort of Eddie Van Halen inspired, so that kind of scene. So when you're choosing how wide to vibrato and how quick and pace to do it, you kind of have those two extremes, and you have to try and find somewhere in the middle or even at those two extremes that's suitable for A, your situation, and B, your personal choice, because after a while you will develop certain vibratos that you always levitate to, and you can apply them sometimes cross stylistically, but certainly worth being aware of. So that's your kind of default vibrato. Okay, so you play the pitch of the note, and then you raise it and bring it back to pitch, and repeat and apply to different styles and circumstances. Another approach to vibrato is to vibrato a note which is already held up in a bending position. So for example, if I play this note here, when the note's held up, I can then add a vibrato to it. And as with before, you can add different lengths of pitch in the shift. But the difference is with a vibrato that's played when the string's held up is that we release the pitch to create a vibrato before we return it back up to pitch. So up to pitch, down, and back up. And obviously a repetition of that process. So this time we're hitting the pitch and then we're coming beneath it. Now, again, this gives you a real good decision to make in terms of what you wanted to do. Because if you think about your note that you're starting on, depending on the different type of vibrato you apply, you're going to be getting a completely different note when you add the vibrato. So your kind of standard vibrato where we raise the pitch, you might be pushing to intervals that are maybe quarter tone, but certainly half tone and full tone if you push it that far above the pitch that you're hitting. Whereas if you're playing a bent vibrato, you're coming beneath it. And again, depending on how wide your vibrato is, you could be coming a whole tone beneath the note that you're playing. So in terms of your decision making when you're being creative, when you hit a note, or if you're deciding to hit a note and vibrato it, let's say you're doing a tone-wide vibrato, there's 2 whole tones worth of difference in your decision to get right. So there really is a case of making a decision and building in certain defaults into your standard repertoire to rely upon. But if you're writing music, this is something that you really want to consider when you're actually choosing, well, should I play that note fretted, for example, that one, or should I play it held up? Because when I play the vibrato, I'll get a very different effect, and whether I want to make that sound resolving or tense, it isn't necessarily the note that we're playing, it's the vibrato that affects how powerful that may be. So if you're looking to make the guitar scream, sing, cry, that's the thing that will really make it for you, and you can obviously vary it during your song to get the right effects at the right moment in time. Now there are our 2 most common ways of vibrato in the string. There are a couple of other ways that I'm going to show you, and there are many more variations. So one is to use a whammy bar. Now the thing is with whammy bars, you can go both ways, or just one way. But you can go either way. I'm not going to spend too long on that, because if you've got a whammy bar, the chances are you've already spent far too long playing with it. But that gives you the options of going both ways. Likewise, if you were to use a slide, with this equally you can go both ways of the vibrato. So, okay, note. This is a B note at the moment. I can vibrato this beneath the pitch, above the pitch, or both ways. But whichever I choose will have a different effect, and you get the extra option when you're using a whammy bar or a slide to choose, if you are going to go both ways, which way do you go first? Do you raise it in pitch first, or do you drop it in pitch first? Again, that's a creative choice. You may find you have a default. Personally, I kind of prefer the ones that go beneath the pitch, because it makes me think of a bend, and that's kind of natural to the style that I play. But again, you'll find your own, and you'll find your own ways of building this into your repertoire, so that you can make, again, the best decisions and really get the most out of your vibrato. So next time you think about, well, I'm just going to shake a string and that'll make my guitar sing, let's put a bit more into it. So just think, well, what am I going to do here? I have a choice, I have a decision to make. Do I want to play the note held up? Do I want to play it held normally? How wide do I need to play it to fit this situation? And if you practice this and do lots of experimentation with improvisation, you'll find that this becomes natural and takes less of a thought process unless you're sitting down and composing something from scratch. Now, I hope you found that lesson useful. Obviously, there are different ways to vibrato. I haven't discussed, bending the neck or pressing the string behind and all that kind of stuff. So there's other ways you can do it. But hope that's still useful for you in your decision making. Please make sure you check out some of the other videos that I've made and hit that subscribe and like button. It really helps out and gets this video out to more people. Otherwise, take care and I'll see you soon. Thanks very much.